Hey everyone, it's Vixian, and today we'll take a look at all the weapon skills New World has to offer, how they can help you in different situations, and categorize them based on each individual player's playstyle. After watching the video, you'll hopefully understand the advantages and disadvantages of each weapon and tree a little better. This way, you can choose which is the best suited for your playstyle. We'll go over the different weapons by category, starting with one-handed weapons. I have also included timestamps in case you want to see something specific. Keep in mind that this showcase will be split into two parts as there's a lot of stuff to cover. And if you want to catch up on daily New World content, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon so you never miss a video. I'll try to upload every day at roughly the same time. So with that said, let us begin. Every weapon has a total of 6 active abilities, 3 for each specialization tree. But you also have passive traits that you can assign, which sometimes add an extra animation and flavor to said skills. Let's start with the first weapon you will encounter, the Sword and Shield. The 2 skill trees available are called Swordmaster and Defender, and as their names hint, Swordmaster has offensive abilities, while Defender focuses more on the defensive side and crowd control. The first sword skill is called Whirling Blade, and is a small 2-meter dash that also slashes all enemies. It's a great ability for AoE fights and has a quick animation. Next up, we have Reverse Stab, which is a high damage strike but has a slow animation. Most of the time, it's good to use this if your target is stunned. And lastly, for the Swordmaster tree, Leaping Strike, which is basically a small gap closer that deals 135 weapon damage. The Defender tree is mostly focused on crowd control and tanking. The first ability in the tree is Shield Rush, which is a 5-meter gap closer that knocks back foes and deals damage. The second one is Shield Bash, which stuns enemies in front of you for 2 seconds. And finally, we have Final Stand. Final Stand is your tanking defensive cooldown and it reduces all incoming damage by 30%. Also, keep in mind that Shield Bash and Final Stand are compatible with the Carnelian gem, which means that you can also taunt enemies with those abilities. So, as you saw, the Sword and Shield focuses on crowd control and tanking, making it a great choice, if not the best, as a main tanking weapon option for PvE, or a slow and steady skirmisher for PvP that has a lot of survivability. Following that, let's take a look at our next weapon in the list, the Rapier. The Rapier is a pretty popular PvP weapon and for a good reason. The 2 skill trees are Blood and Grace. Blood focuses more on burst damage, while Grace focuses more on outplaying opponents and mobility, making the Rapier a perfect choice for skirmishes. The first skill in our list is Tondo. It's a quick strike that also applies a 12-second bleed and can stack up to 3 times. Next up we have Flurry, which puts you in a posed stance and delivers 5 quick thrust attacks that ramp up in damage. You can also dodge cancel Flurry at any time. And finally for the Blood tree we have Flourish and Finish. This ability performs an attack which will knock back enemies, and pressing a light attack at the end of Flourish will continue this ability automatically, performing the second part, Finish. Finish is a small gap closer that consumes all bleeds, dealing 110% of their damage instantly. As you can see, the Blood skill tree is focused on sustained DPS with a higher burst finisher. Now regarding the Grace tree, the first ability we get is called Evade, which is basically an extra dodge roll but also increases your light attack animation speed if you press it during Evade. Then we have Riposte, which puts you into a defensive stance for 1 second. If you get attacked during this ability, you will perform a counter attack, stunning the enemy briefly for 1.5 seconds. Finally, one of my favorites is Flesh. This one is a 10-meter gap closer that also deals damage to the target you run through, making it a great option for mobility. So in my opinion, it seems like the Rapier is mostly balanced around PvP as a weapon choice for burst and outplay potential, but has its uses in PvE as well, as you can negate a lot of monster damage easily and boss DPS could potentially be high with all these bleeds. And that's all for the Rapier. Now let's take a look at the Hatchet. With the Hatchet's skill trees, you get the option to throw axes at people with the throwing skill tree or get close and personal with the Berserker skill tree. The first ability in the Berserker tree is naturally called Berserk. Berserk is basically just a 20% damage buff, which lasts for 15 seconds, but gets much stronger after you assign some passive traits to it. Then we have Feral Rush, which is a gap closer that also does 2 quick attacks. And finally, Raging Torment, which is a flurry of 4 quick strikes. As for the throwing tree, your first ability is called Rending Throw, and is exactly what the name suggests. You throw an axe that deals damage and applies Rend, reducing the target's damage absorption by 10%. The second ability is called Social Distancing, which seems to be pretty meta in the real world as well. You can use this skill to throw an axe, slow your target, and dodge backwards. The last ability is Infected Throw. You throw an axe that deals damage and triggers a disease that weakens the target for 5 seconds. Diseases in this game reduce your target's healing by 30%, and weakness reduces the target's damage by 10%. The hatchet is a great option for leveling and provides front-loaded burst damage in close range. So for those of you that enjoy a hack and slash type of playstyle, you'll love it. And with this, we covered all the one-handed weapons. Let's move on to the two-handed weapons. The first two-handed weapon is the Spear, which is one of the more interesting weapons in my opinion. The Spear's skill trees are called Zoner and Impaler. The first ability in the Zoner tree is a ranged spear throw called Javelin, that deals damage and staggering on hit, and it also knocks down if you are specced into it. The second one is Sweep, which knocks down targets in front of you. And finally, we have Cyclone, an ability that deals AoE damage and knocks targets back by 3 meters. As you can see, this skill tree is focused more on crowd control, so naturally, the next skill tree puts more focus in damage. Skewer is the first ability in the Impaler tree. It is a small gap closer that also applies bleeding for 10 seconds. There is also Perforate, which delivers 3 quick hits that cost rending. And the last ability is Volt Kick, which is a jump attack that applies a small 1.5 seconds stun. The Spear is mostly focused around stun locking your enemies in PvP or providing sustained DPS through bleeds, while also bringing a lot of utility through crowd control for dungeons as well. The next two-handed weapon in our list is a Great Axe, consisting of the Reaper and the Mauler trees. The Reaper tree is focused on pure damage. In the Reaper tree, the first ability is Rip. This ability extends your axe, pulling foes to you, and deals damage. Then we have Charge, which is an unstoppable gap closer attack. And finally, Execute, which is one of the highest, if not the highest, damaging abilities in the game. The Mauler tree, on the other hand, is mostly used for AoE and crowd control. The first ability is Maelstrom. Maelstrom pulls enemies to you while dealing damage. The next one is Whirlwind, which is your typical spin to win attack. And the last one is Gravity Well. Gravity Well drops an axe in front of you, pulling enemies to its center for 3 seconds. It's similar to Zarya's ultimate for those of you that have played Overwatch, making it one of the strongest abilities in the game for large-scale fights. So who is the Great Axe for? Well, it's great for those that enjoy a slower playstyle, with high damage, and everyone that likes being in the middle of fights and cleaving everyone down. Usually, if a Great Axe user manages to reach you, you can expect a lot of damage coming your way. It's a great choice for PvE dungeons as well, simply due to the raw damage output, and it also shines in PvP for the same reason. There is only one big problem with the Great Axe, namely the fact that since your attacks are rather slow, other players might be able to dodge them more easily. The last two-handed weapon is the Hammer, coming with a Juggernaut and Crowd Crusher skill trees. The Crowd Crusher tree focuses on crowd control, with the first ability being Clear Out. Clear Out knocks enemies back for 4 meters. There is also Shockwave, one of the most iconic hammer attacks. You slam the hammer into the ground, stunning impacted enemies for 2 seconds and dealing damage. And finally, Path of Destiny, a linear wave of energy that deals damage to everyone in its path. The hammer is a great choice for bulky frontliners that focus on crowd control, making it a solid choice as a second tanking weapon, or for big-scale PvP combat. And with that said, we reached the end of part 1 of the weapons showcase. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for part 2. With that in mind, I would love to hear which weapons you guys will stick with, so make sure to drop a comment down below about that, or any other topic you'd like to hear from me. Also, quick reminder, if you enjoyed today's video, please drop a like and share it with a friend. It will help me and the channel grow. I will also be streaming daily on both YouTube and Twitch, so you can hit me up there as well, or drop by the Discord server if you just want to chat. My company is still recruiting, so leave me a message on Discord if you'd like to join, and I also included our application form in the description below. So that's all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching till the end. I really hope you learned something new today, and I'll see you on tomorrow's video. But until then, take care.
Who alive can't put me in a box. I redefine any definition you got.